Assalamualaikum and a good day to our lecturer, Madam Anis Suhaila binti Anas. Today, we are going to present to you our company analysis report.
We are from Group 3 and our team consists of Shawkina Nasuha binti Zainuddin, Nur Alisha binti Sahari, and me myself Nur Hanis Amirah binti Hamzah. The contents of our presentations today includes company introductions, company SWOT analysis, stocks, company performance, conclusion, recommendations, and learning experience about company. So let's go to introductions of companies that we have chose in our research. The first company is Manulife Holdings Berhad. Manulife Holdings Berhad is a part of Canada-based Manulife Financial Corporations, which this company offers an innovative range of financial positions, health and wealth management products and services to meet different customers' needs. The next company that we have chose is Pacific Orient Berhad, which this company is an investment holding company, which it provides financial and services and information technology services. Now let's go to the SWOT analysis of Manulife Holdings Berhad. The strengths for this company are strong financial positions and established brand, while the weaknesses are regulatory environment and dependence on economic conditions, while the opportunity for this company are growing need for financial services and emerging markets, while the threats for these companies are intense rivalry and regulatory change. Let's move on to SWOT analysis for Pacific and Orient Berhad. The strengths for these companies are long-standing positions, diversified insurance offerings, while the weaknesses are limited market share and reinsurance dependence. The opportunity is digital transformations and product innovations, while the threats are intense competitions and technological disruption. So, let's move on to the products of these two companies. Their products are stocks, which stocks are type of securities that gives stockholders or the shareholders a share of ownerships in the company. So there are a few advantages from stocks or the shareholders, which it includes voting rights, which it allows the shareholders in a company to vote on certain corporate actions such as elect members of board of directors. The second one is limited liability, which the directors or shareholders will only be liable for debts on a certain amount, and last but not least is capital gains and dividend. Capital gains are profit that occurs when investment is sold at a higher price than the original purchase price, while the dividend is paid out of the profits of a corporation to the stockholders. The next one is history of stocks. So, Bursa Malaysia has the distinctions of among the biggest bourses in Asia, with well over 900 listed companies, which investors can choose from a variety of listed products. So that's how the history of stocks has begun from the Bursa Malaysia. The next one will be development of investment in Malaysia, which is creating a business-friendly environment for foreign investors. So we want to get more investors in Malaysia. So that's the development of investment activities. And the activities in Malaysia, the shareholders, stockholders, or the directors run a variety of activities in Malaysia, which includes educations, share success stories, demonstrate the procedures, and support and advice for the new generations or new investors to let more investors know the opportunities, the strengths, and also the advantages to become a investor. So that's all from me. I'm going to pass to the next presenter, which is Shawkina Nasuha. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hanis, for the presentation before. I'm Shawkina and I will be continuing the presentation with company performance and also conclusion. First, we're going to talk about company performance, which is recent written findings. Recent written findings have 4 items that we're going to talk about, which is expected return, variance, standard deviation, and also coefficient of variance. The first one is expected return. It's really important for investor as it will help them assess the potential risks and rewards of different investment. As we've seen at the table, Pacific and Orient Berhad has a bit higher of expected return rather than Manulife Holdings. The next one is variance. Variance has no effect on investor risk or return, but nonetheless, a stock with a higher variance is always associated with a higher risk as well as a higher return. So here in the table, we can see that the Manulife Holdings Berhad has a bit higher variance rather than Pacific and Orient Berhad. The next one, we're going to talk about standard deviation. It was extremely useful instrument in trading and investment since it can monitor market and also security volatility and also forecast performance trends. We can see here that Manulife Holdings have a bit higher standard deviation rather than Pacific Orient Berhad. The last one would be coefficient of variation. Coefficient of variation can determine the risk and reward ratio of each security and also make an informed investment decision. Typically, investors would prefer the lower coefficient of variance as they offer the best risk and reward ratio. Here in the table, we can see that Pacific and Orient Berhad has a much lower coefficient of variance rather than Manulife Holding Berhad. So I guess this is for this risk and return findings. We're going to move on to the next part. The next part is we will going to talk about financial statement analysis. In this analysis, there are four types of ratio, which is liquidity ratio, profitability ratio, debt management ratio, and also activity ratio. The total for each ratio is actually 13, but I'm just going to talk about four of these main ratio. We will choosing Manulife Holdings Berhad and also Pacific and Orient Berhad, and also two of the year 2020 and 2021 to calculate all the ratio. First one is current ratio. It's actually a ratio that measures a company abilities to pay its current liabilities using its current assets. We can see that both years for Manulife Holdings were the same value, which is 1.72 times. Meanwhile, for Pacific and Orient Berhad, it was much lower in 2021 rather than 2020, which is 6.99 times. The next one is operating profit margin, which is a ratio that measures a company profitability. It's measure how much profit a company generates from its core business operation, excluding interest and taxes. For Manulife Holding Berhad, we can see that in 2021, it was reducing a bit from 66.71% to 66.52%. Meanwhile, for Pacific and Orient Berhad, 2021, actually the operating profit margin was a bit higher in 7.79% rather than in 2020, which is 2.09%. Next one is we're going to talk about return on equity. It's actually a ratio that measures a company profitability in relation to its shareholders' equity. It shows how much profit a company generates for each dollar of shareholder equity invested in the company. We can see that for Manulife Holdings in 2021, the return on equity is a bit higher, 9.12% rather than 2020, which is 4.28%. Meanwhile, for Pacific and Orient Berhad, in 2020, the return on equity is negative 1.41%, and then it's higher its value on 2021, which is 1.34%. The last one is average collection period, is ratio that measure the average number for the company to collect payment from its customer for credit sales. We can see in 2021, Manulife Holding have higher days, 157 days for its company to collect debt rather than in 2020 for only 141 days. Meanwhile, for Pacific and Orient Berhad, the collection period it's actually lower on 2020, which is 103 days rather than 2021, which is 116 days to collect a debt. So I think this is all for the financial statement analysis. We'll be going to moving on to the next part. The last one is the conclusion. Based on the recent written findings, Pacific and Orient was the best company among the two with the highest expected return as it gains the highest profit. Based on the result, we can conclude that Manulife has the tendency of high risk when we want to invest into their company. However, comparing both company, Pacific and Orient presented a lower risk. Higher standard deviation indicates a riskier and more variable investment. This reveals that Manulife company is less reliable because it has a high standard deviation, indicating that the data is widely dispersed, whereas Pacific and Orient is more reliable because it has a low standard deviation. Investors prefer a low CV, coefficient of variance, because it offers the best risk to reward ratio with low volatility and high returns. From the result above, we can indicate that Pacific and Orient has the best coefficient result with the lowest amount. Lastly, the highest coefficient variance is Manulife. This result is not considered good for investor as the risk to reward ratio has a high volatility. Next, we're going to move on to financial statement analysis, which is current ratio. Current ratio greater than 1 indicates that the company has enough current asset to cover its current liability. By looking at the comparison carried out for current ratio, it shows Manulife Holding Berhad has a fixed amount from 2020 until 2021. Meanwhile, for Pacific and Orient Berhad, the current ratio shows a very significant change, which is from 6.98 in 2020, falling to 2.64 in 2021. Even so, it still shows that Pacific and Orient has a sufficient total assets to cover their total liabilities owned by the company. Pacific and Orient Berhad can still be categorized as a safe company for investors to invest. Therefore, investors are more recommended to invest in Pacific and Orient Berhad due to the company showing a better performance compared to Manulife Holdings. Apart from that, the calculation and comparison for return on equity for Manulife Berhad and Pacific and Orient Berhad show that Manulife has a good potential to attract more investors. This is because investors focus on the ROE ratio to see the efficiency of the company to generate profit. So that's all from me. Thank you. I will be passing the presentation to Alicia.
Hi, my name is Alicia. Now I will continue this presentation with what is the recommendation for both companies. Firstly is increased sales. Increasing sales is a common objective for companies in the financial services industry. To achieve this, both Manulife Holdings Berhad and Pacific Orient Berhad can focus on expand market reach, which is identify opportunities to penetrate new markets or segments by offering tailored insurance and financial products to a wider customer base. Second one is increased investment in assets. Increasing investment in assets can support growth and provide opportunities for higher returns. Action can be considered by both companies by diversify investment portfolio, which is explore a wider range of investment options such as equities, fixed income securities, real estate or alternative assets to diversify risk and optimize returns. Thirdly is reduce costs. Cost reduction measures can enhance profitability and efficiency. Both companies can consider streamlined operations. How? Both companies can identify areas where processes can be optimized or automated to reduce manual efforts, eliminate redundancies, and improve overall operational efficiency. And lastly is reduce liabilities. Managing and reducing liabilities is crucial for financial institutions. Both companies can focus on risk assessment and mitigation, conduct regular assessments of potential risks and vulnerabilities within the portfolios. Ensuring adequate risk mitigation measures are in place to minimize exposure. From this project, there is a lot of learning experience that I can give, but to make it short, I point out 3 points only. First learning experience is understanding the financial services industry. Both Manulife Holdings Berhad and Pacific and Orient Berhad operate in the financial services industry, which encompasses insurance, investment, and other financial products. Learning about these companies can help you gain insight into the dynamic of the industry, including regulatory frameworks, market trend, and customer demands. Other than that, we also learn about insurance and financial solutions. Manulife Holdings Berhad and Pacific and Orient Berhad offer various insurance and financial solutions to individuals and businesses. Exploring these companies can provide you with an understanding of different types of insurance coverage, investment options, retirement planning, and wealth management strategies. This knowledge can be valuable and in making informed financial decisions for personal or professional purpose. And lastly, we also learn about corporate social responsibility. Many companies emphasize corporate social responsibility by actively engaging in community initiatives, supporting charitable causes and promoting sustainability. Learning about the CSR effort of Manulife Holdings Berhad and Pacific Orient Berhad can provide insight into how companies align their operation with social and environmental values, contributing positively to society. That's it from me. Bye.